Thom Hartmann here with you. I'm live at the headquarters of Our Revolution in Washington, D.C. We'll be doing our show from Our Revolution here today. We're going to be at a different place every day this week. We're going to be at Greenpeace, we're going to be at the Postal Workers Union, we're going to be at Social Security Works, and we're going to be at We Act Radio. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time. And but here at Our Revolution, we're going to have a series of guests to inform you about what's going on with Our Revolution and the state of the Democratic Party and the state of just pretty much everything. Is Larry Cohen for our first hour. Larry, you're the board chair, right, for Our Revolution?
Board chair, yeah.
Welcome to the program.
Yeah, great to be with you again. Yeah,
it's
great to see you.
So, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the news of the day, okay? Just, then we can start digging into some of the Our Revolution stuff, because we got, 3 hours of Our Revolution. But Chuck Grassley, I believe this was on NPR Friday. I heard this, but he may have said it in other venues. Let me just share this with people. He said that this was an interview with the Des Moines Register. I heard the same thing on NPR, and I didn't realize it was Grassley. It must have been, though. He says, I think not having the estate tax recognizes the people that are investing, as opposed to those who are just spending every darn penny they have, whether it's on booze or women or movies. So, Larry, you don't even have to consider the inheritance tax unless you and your wife own over $22 million worth of assets, that all of which you're trying to pass along to one of your kids, or to all your kids, I guess. And I don't know anybody who I mean, how does the average working person waste $22 million on booze, women, and movies? This is crazy. What the hell is going on here?
Well, I think he shows who he cares about.
Yeah.
So he cares about, obviously, his way of life, which is the 1%, or the 1% of the 1%, and he cares about the donors who have backed him up for years. And this is contempt for working people in Iowa who grow things and make things for generations, who, in fact, not only in terms of what they produce are the backbone of our country, but also that Economics 101 teaches us that the demand curve matters. Right now, the demand curve has been smashed. There's been no wage increases in real terms after inflation for decades in this country. And instead of focusing on that, they're focused again on the supply side, 40 years of the supply side. And again, anybody who studies this at all knows it's never worked.
Right, yeah, supply side economics is a sad joke, tragically. I found a quote from 1898, a Republican politician during the McKinley administration, who they used to call this the sparrows and horses and sparrows theory. And I mean, literally starting in the 1870s, the Republicans started pitching for tax cuts and things. And the theory was that if you feed the oats to the horses, horses only have about a 50% efficient digestive system. Because horse poop is like food for a lot of other things, bugs and I don't know, and mushrooms. and that the 50% of undigested oats that come out of the back end of the horse, the sparrows eat, and sparrows do love to eat from horse patties, right? And so this was the theory that literally the Republican Party was pitching in the 1870s to 1900. Everybody knew. Today we call it trickle down economics. They called it the horse and sparrow theory, and people bought it. It's amazing. Here we are, 130 years later, and they're still trying to sell this crap.
Right. Well, that's the saddest point. So give them a pass for 1898 to a certain extent, although if we were alive then we would. But that repeatedly doing the same thing with the same results, and now with the straight-faced Grassley and the entire Republican Senate and House saying the same thing all over again.
Yeah, and the other insane part of that whole thing is that it's like, look at what Sam Brownback did to Kansas. It's like, I don't understand how, well, I do understand. You've seen the ads on TV that are paid for by these nonprofits associated with the Koch brothers and some of the other.
Yeah, many of them, sure.
And every American is going to get $2,000, or I'm going to get $1,000, or oh boy, it's a tax cut for the middle class. It's not, is it?
No, it's not at all. And as you know, I was president of the Communication Workers Union for 10 years. My successor, Chris Shelton, actually sent letters to all the major CWA employers saying, we want to know now, when you get the corporate tax cuts, it's a 40% corporate tax cut, what are the wage increases we should expect? Well, I know no one's going to be shocked to know not a single one will commit to a single dime. So we have this gap between the reality that where will it go? It'll go to shareholders. Today the Dow Jones is up 200 and something points, almost 1%, just because of the likelihood that this tax cut for the corporations will be enacted. So that's who's going to benefit. And everybody knows it, and yet many people pretend that it's something different. So, you know, you're still looking at, to be impeached, it takes the House doing it, where they have an overwhelming majority, at least until the elections next November. So, I still think that's a long shot, unless they, whoever they are, the back rooms of the Republican Party decide this guy's toxic for us. We face an election, we need to get him out. Wouldn't be for the right reasons necessarily, but it would be the same end result.
I have heard from off the record, from two Republicans who are, well, one's a fairly well-known writer and the other works for one of the right-wing websites, that if Trump signs the tax deal, and if Mueller delivers even a largely irrelevant charge, but Trump is charged with anything. I mean, look at what they went after Clinton for, lying about sex. If Mueller can pull that off, that the Republicans actually will throw Trump under the bus, because they're as afraid of him as all the rest of us are when it comes to things like nuclear bombs and whatnot. Thoughts?
Well, I think there's probably truth to that in a philosophical way. The question again is, imagine the House of Representatives, imagine the 237 or so Republicans. If they don't do that overwhelmingly, they look like a dysfunctional party, even more so. So in other words, it's not like you can have 30 Republicans go with 188 Democrats and impeach the president. I mean, you could mathematically.
I think it's entirely possible. You've got, you know, there's enough Republicans in the House who are very unhappy with Trump.
Yeah, but they got to bring it through their committees where they have the chair.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It's, Paul Ryan ultimately has final say over this. Plus, John Roberts will preside over the process, which is going to make it even more weird.
Yeah.
So you're very skeptical that it'll happen.
Well, I think it has to be overwhelming where the Republican Party is actually doing it, rather than the Democrats are doing it and they get, you know, a handful of Republicans to go along.
Right.
And so that's why I still think it's a long march from where we are.
Yeah, remarkable. We're live from Washington, D.C., Our Revolution headquarters. We'll be back with more with Larry Cohen. He's with us for a bit here. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with more of Larry Cohen at Our Revolution right after this. My mind.
You're on the air, aren't you?
And welcome back. Larry Cohen and I are here. Okay, let's talk a little bit, about Our Revolution.
Great.
And well, actually, I'd like to. We just lost our commercial stations. We're still on Free Speech TV and all our non-commercial stations. So let's hold that for 4 minutes until we come back. Okay.
Okay.
But for right now, how do you see this thing playing out? We were just not just the possibility of impeachment, but just the whole, is Trump going for a fall, or is this the kind of thing? I mean, I remember when Clinton was impeached, his popularity went up to 60, as I recall, 67% or something like that. I mean, it was well over 60%. Could that, if the Democrats actually tried to impeach him, could it just backfire terribly, or if an impeachment process actually happens?
Yeah, so again, the way the committee structure works in the House, the Republicans are going to have to take the lead. I think the Democrats, to a certain extent, are happy to hang this thing around the necks, if that's the right word, of the Republicans through the election.
Right.
So the Republican Party as a whole has to carry Trump with them, whether he campaigns or not, or whether they try to shove him in the closet.
Right.
And so I actually think it'll turn around in the new year, and it'll be, do the Republicans want to make a move like that? Can they convince him to resign so they have a more conventional Republican, although to me he's draconian, the Vice President, Pence. So I think it's hard to predict how that plays out. I do think that the election next November is going to be largely a test of whether the kind of economics that Grassley promoted, that you talk about at the beginning of the hour, whether that is something they're willing to defend. In Polk County, Iowa, let alone anywhere else in this country. But they'll actually look working people in the face and say, it has to be the horse poop to the sparrow, and you're the sparrow. Right. So the horse gets the oats.
Right, right. And the sparrow gets the half the oats, I guess.
Right. I've been cautioned by you how to use terminology on the air.
Yes, thank you. It's very considerate of you.
Yes.
You mentioned that you were the president of the Communication Workers.
Yeah.
How are they doing?
They're doing well, given that working class people are under attack, whether they're union or not. The level of collective bargaining coverage in the United States is the lowest it's been, since the early 20th century. So that means most people have no bargaining, and even rights, and even those who do get to negotiate are affected by the competition from those who don't. So I would say that for working people as a whole, we have to start over. How do we get the rights at work? Are we really going to put up with just going to work and there's a sign on the door that says your rights stop here?
Maybe there should be.
We should actually print the signs and
Yeah.
put them on doors across America. Huh?
Yeah.
You have no rights, remember that. You can be fired at any time, remember that.
Is that true in every state?
California has some bureaucracy around just cause, but every other state, yeah.
Municipalities?
Municipalities, often they're civil service, so there is a hearing procedure.
But that's intrinsic to civil service. That's
Correct.
not the law of like Lansing, Michigan hasn't passed a law saying
No.
you have a right to work in Lansing.
No, the good thing about 19th century, early 20th century civil service is it does provide some due process, because before that, it was patronage. It didn't matter where your job was on the public sector ladder. Right. You were gone when the opponent won.
But essentially everybody in the country is at will.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with more Larry.